Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astottara Sutta Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON's founder Charya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Astottara Sata Sri Srimad. Hey, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakun Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki. Vrindavan Dhama Ki, Mayapur Navadvip Dhama Ki, Ganga Mai Ki, Yamuna Mai Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Tulsi Maharani Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. Gaura Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Continuing the reading from the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 26, entitled King Puranjan Goes to the Forest to Hunt, and his queen becomes angry. Text 11. Tata Kshutrit Parishranta Nivrita Griham Evya Griham Eyivan Krita Snana Uchita Ahara Sangvivesha Gataklamaha Tatakshutrit Parishranto Tatakshutrit Parishranto Nivrito Griham Eyivan Nivrito Griham Eyivan Kritasnanochitahara Kritasnanochitahara Sangvivesha Gataklamaha Sangvivesha Gataklamaha Tatakshutrit Parishranto Nivrito Griham Eyivan Kritasnanochitahara Sangvivesha Gataklama Tatakshutrit Parishranto Nivrito Griham Eyivan Kritasnanochitahara Sangvivesha Gataklama. Tatakshutrit Parishranto Nivrito Griham Eyivan Kritasnanochitahara Sangvivesha Gataklamaha. Nivrito griham eyevan krita snano chitahara sangvivesha gata klamaham tatakshutrit parishranto nivrito griham eyevan krita snano chitahara sangvivesha gata klamaham. Tata, thereafter, shoot by hunger, trit, thirst, parishranta, being too fatigued, nivrita, having ceased, griham eyivan, come back to his home, krita, taken, snan, bath, uchita ahara, exactly required foodstuffs, sangvivesha, took rest, gata klamaha, freed from all fatigue. Translation. After this, the king, very much fatigued, hungry and thirsty, returned to his royal palace. After returning, he took a bath and had an appropriate dinner. Then he took rest and thus became freed from all restlessness. Please repeat. After this, the king, very much fatigued, hungry and thirsty, returned to his royal palace. After returning, he took a bath and had an appropriate dinner. Then he took rest and thus became freed from all restlessness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A materialistic person works throughout the whole week very, very hard. He's always asking, where is money? Where is money? Then at the end of the week, he wants to retire from these activities and go to some secluded place to rest. King Puranjan returned to his home because he was very much fatigued from hunting animals in the forest. In this way, his conscience came to stop him from committing further sinful activities and make him return home. In Bhagavad Gita, materialistic persons are described as dushkritinaha, which indicates those who are always engaged in sinful activities. When a person comes to his senses and understands how he is engaging in sinful activities, he returns to his conscience, which is herein figuratively described as the palace. Generally, a materialistic person is infected by the material modes of passion and ignorance. The results of passion and ignorance are lust and greed. In the life of a materialist, activity means working in lust and greed. However, when he comes to his senses, he wants to retire. According to Vedic civilization, such retirement is positively recommended, and this portion of life is called Vanprashta. Retirement is absolutely necessary for a materialist who wants to become free from the activities of a sinful life. King Puranjan's coming home, taking bath, and having an appropriate dinner indicate that a materialistic person must retire from sinful activities and become purified by accepting a spiritual master and hearing from him about the values of life. If one would do this, he would feel completely refreshed, just as one feels after taking a bath. After receiving initiation from a bona fide spiritual master, one must abandon all kinds of sinful activities, namely illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating. The word uchita haraha used in this verse is important. Uchita means appropriate. One must eat appropriately and not take after food as hogs take after stool. For a human being, there are eatables described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, verse 8, as sattvika ahara, or food in the mode of goodness. One should not indulge in eating food in the modes of passion and ignorance. This is called uchita hara, or appropriate eating. One who is always eating meat or drinking liquor, which is eating and drinking in passion and ignorance, must give up these things so that his real consciousness may be awakened. In this way, one may become peaceful and refreshed. If one is restless or fatigued, one cannot understand the science of God. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1-20, Evam prasana manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnana mukta sangasya jayate. Unless one can become free from the influence of passion and ignorance, he cannot be pacified. And without being pacified, one cannot understand the science of God. King Puranjan's returning home is indicative of a man's returning to his original consciousness, known as Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is absolutely necessary for one who has committed a lot of sinful activities, especially killing animals or hunting in the forest. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jita Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Tatak Shutrit Parishranto Nivritta Griham Eyivan Kritasnanuchitahara Sangviveshagata Klamaha. After this, the king, very much fatigued, hungry and thirsty, returned to his royal palace. After returning, he took a bath and had an appropriate dinner. Then he took rest and thus became freed from all restlessness. This description, this allegorical presentation of Narada Muni is continuing. And it's bringing us to a point in this story of King Puranjan where after much time of relentlessly pursuing materialistic enjoyment, being guided by his wife, Puranjani, who is the materialistic intelligence which is tasked with creating and devising all sorts of plans to fulfill the desires of the conditioned living entity. We are now at a point where the king, the description is that the king is now becoming exhausted by all these materialistic pursuits. A few verses earlier we heard of how he decided to go into the country, into the jungle, and hunt animals in the forest for fun, mercilessly killing innocent animals. And as Maharaj mentioned, he made a good point yesterday of unpacking the description game animals, that people will hunt these animals for something whimsical like a game, for no real purpose. They're called game animals. So Puranjan was doing this, looking for more and more game animals just to uselessly kill them and gratify his senses. And Prabhupada draws a very striking comparison here, that just as Puranjan is going out and working very hard to attain more enjoyment by killing animals, the common man of today, Prabhupada says, the materialistic person works throughout the week very, very hard, and is asking, where is money, where is money? Puranjan is asking, where is the game animal, where is the game animals? And the common person, working very hard, where is money, where is money? But at a certain point, Puranjan becomes exhausted from all of this. Something in him starts to stir. Initially something stirred at the start of this chapter. If you read carefully, you would have caught it, that he left home without his wife this time around. The wife being the material intelligence, but this time for some reason he left without her. Sort of being detached from the workings of the intelligence to create schemes to enjoy, he left her. So now, being sort of momentarily freed from the materialistic intelligence, something stirred within him. First, of course, he got exhausted. How many of you have heard of this? Youth or young people today, they come up with all these interesting, abbreviations, acronyms it's called, right? Like LOL, laugh out loud, and YOLO, you only live once, but this one other one is TGIF. You heard of that? What does TGIF mean? Thank God it's Friday, right? And by the way, it's Friday. So we can relax tomorrow. Anyway, we'll come to that just now, what we have to do on the weekend. So thank God it's Friday. The materialistic person is working so hard throughout the week, and it's Friday. Oh, I'm so exhausted. Throughout the week he's working so hard for money, but TGIF, so he can relax through the weekend. And he makes plans, right? Let's book a place somewhere on the coast or in the mountains so we can go and relax. So Puranjan, he's also exhausted, and he can't wait to come back to his palace. In Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, as we know, these various descriptions or personalities and equipments and possessions of the king are representing various various aspects of a normal living entity. Like we heard in the very elaborate description, the lady that he meets in the forest is the materialistic intelligence. He's accompanied by Avigyata, the super soul. And what were the other descriptions? He's this lady, the material intelligence, is being protected by a five-hooded serpent, and the five-hooded serpent was anybody remember? No? The life is, the five life is, and they were accompanied by many protectors and guards, the senses and the sense objects. So like this, there's this very elaborate description. And here we find a description of the palace. So, and the palace, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, refers to him returning to his conscience. To his conscience. And when one returns to the dictates of one's conscience, like Puranjan is returning home, he's giving up the sinful activity of going out and hunting. And he's establishing himself, as Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, establishing himself again in the rules of dharma. So first, he says he was exhausted from hunger and thirst, which means he was becoming disturbed and troubled on remembering all his sinful activities. Then he returns to his palace, his conscience, gives up the sinful acts and turns towards the path of dharma. Then Narada Muni says he took his bath, which Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, yes, he called brahmanas and had them perform various ritualistic processes of atonement. And Srila Prabhupada in his purport extends this bath analogy to that he accepted the guidance and the shelter of a spiritual master. And then Narada Muni says, Puranjan took suitable food, which means, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, he gave up meat and liquor, and then he took rest, Narada Muni says, which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, he became steady, became peaceful and steady. This materialistic endeavor, we work very, very hard, very hard, looking for our game animals. Waste the money, so that we can very deeply enjoy in life. But we become tired. The materialistic person becomes tired. Because if all materialistic pursuits, if any materialistic pursuits and the results that are experienced from them are truly satisfying, would someone become tired? You wouldn't become tired. You'd be getting more and more taste to experience more and more. But because of the nature of materialistic enjoyment and the burden, the karmic burden that comes with it, one becomes tired, one becomes exhausted. Just like carrying a heavy load from one place to another. After a while, it becomes tiring and you have to sit down somewhere and take a break. But there's a very great difference then, a stark difference between materialistic pursuit and the pursuit in bhakti. If one is very enthusiastically and favorably engaged in devotional service, then at least from within the mind, the body is material, it has its limitations, that's different. But at least from within the mind, one is never exhausted in the practice of bhakti. Rather, one is yearning for more and more. Just like Srila Rupa Goswami prays, this beautiful verse describing the effect of chanting the holy name. Tunde tanda viniratem vitanute tunda vali labdaye. That when I repeat these syllables, Krishna, these two syllables, what happens? I start becoming greedy to have many, many more tongues, thousands of tongues, so I can relish the holy name. And a desire to have many thousands of ears, so the sound can enter into my ears and into my heart. So like this, at least from within the mind and intelligence, the living entity practicing devotional service never becomes exhausted. It never happens. But yet the materialist becomes very, very challenged, very challenged. So this palace, as Srila Prabhupada says, refers to his conscience, the living entity's conscience, comes to his right mind, comes to his senses. So conscience, I'm sure all of you had experience with your conscience. Anybody didn't have an experience with your conscience? Something telling you, knocking on your door, hey, stop this, look at it from a different direction. But what is conscience? What is conscience? Anybody has an idea? What is one's conscience? We know we have it, but what is it? The mind. Oh no, the mind is very different. Isn't it the Paramatma? Don't answer a question with a question. Yes, Jagai Madai, what is conscience? The super soul? Yeah. So sometimes Srila Prabhupada actually in one discussion, in many discussions with Shyamsundar Prabhu when they were preparing the book Dialectic Spiritualism. Anybody ever got that book and read it? Dialectic Spiritualism, where Shyamsundar Prabhu was presenting in a brief way the philosophies of various famous philosophies, Plato, Socrates, Immanuel Kant, and this person and that person. And in certain areas they were discussing what the different philosophers said about conscience. And Srila Prabhupada was very nicely understanding what they were saying and unpacking it and, even dismantling some of their ideas of conscience. So generally Srila Prabhupada said, yes, the conscience refers to being guided by the Paramatma, the super soul from within the heart. And so the palace, in this case, feels its home, it feels to be a place where one is truly protected and comfortable, and where one is at peace, and one is very aligned with the desires and the hopes of the super soul for ourselves. Clearly what Puranjan was doing, mercilessly killing animals, was completely out of sync with the desires of the super soul. So although the super soul does not interfere, like we hear from the Vedic literature, the Upanishads, that there are two birds sitting on a tree, right? And one bird is very actively moving around from one branch, from one leaf to another, and the other bird is simply sitting on one branch, observing. That branch that is steady, observing on one branch, is the super soul, and the other bird that's fluttering around is the living entity. So the super soul does not interfere, but has its desire for the best welfare of that living entity. So that desire sometimes comes to the fore and influences the living entity to take note of what they're doing, feel regretful, and look another way. So that's what happened to Puranjan. The Paramatma is the Chaitya Guru, or the super soul, or the spiritual master within the heart. So the super soul, the spiritual master within the heart, is giving some direction. What's that? Ishvara sarva bhutanam riddesha arjuna tishtati. Brahmayan. It's directing, it's giving an impetus to all the living entities from within the heart of what to do and what not to do. And sometimes the living entity, we become uncovered momentarily to be aware of what's this hinting of the super soul. And sometimes we may act alongside it, or we may choose to deny it. This is what happens. However, sometimes we may find that the conscience, or that voice, inner voice that's speaking to one person to do something, is different from another person's inner voice to do something else. So one must then consider, and it could be two diametrically opposed things. One could be harmful, thinking, yes, like a materialistic person may think that they may trust their intuition to do something sinful, and they could think, well, that's my conscience speaking, I should do something, even though it's sinful. Yet another person's consciousness is saying something else. So one has to question, is this really the voice of the super soul speaking and hinting at the person? Therefore, we require not just to trust one's hearing of the super soul from within, because that can get confusing sometimes. One has to have further guidance, and that comes in the form of the spiritual master, the Shiksha or the Diksha Guru, who will verify and confirm what one is feeling, what impetuses one has to do certain things. Because we can never be truly sure whether it's the super soul speaking or it's our mind that's speaking. And sometimes the mind is very powerful. It can very easily imitate, through the expertise of the materialistic mind, can imitate the Lord to us, even though it's just the wranglings of our mind. Just like many, many years ago, I remember being very, very affected by this one example that Balabhadra Prabhu gave many, many years ago. He said that if Krishna, of course Krishna is there, but consider that he's not there. But if Krishna and the spiritual master had to suddenly appear at the door there, what would you do? What would be the first thing that you do? And the devotees gave a few answers. And he said, yes, what you have to do is that you have to go to the spiritual master first. Even though Krishna and the Guru is there, you have to go first to the spiritual master. You offer obeisances to the spiritual master. You worship him. And after you've done that, you tell the spiritual master that, my dear spiritual master, my dear Guru Maharaj, I'm so happy to see you. But I have a question. This person that's standing next to you, I have an idea, I have a sense that that is Krishna, but I cannot be sure. But you know Krishna, can you verify that for me? Because devotees, even if we see Krishna, we may not know for sure. We get bewildered by things right in front of us sometimes. That which is not, that's the meaning of Maya. Maya literally means that which is not. So Krishna can be very bewildering. And therefore, we must not just rely on conscience. Conscience is very good, especially one can have faith, some level of faith in one's conscience, if one is practicing a very pure life. We'll come to that just now. One is not being situated or wallowing in the modes of passion and ignorance. But if one's lifestyle is in the mode of goodness, then one's consciousness becomes clearer. And therefore one is more attuned to conscience. Otherwise, if one is very much in the depths of passion and ignorance, following a very sinful lifestyle, then one's consciousness is covered, and therefore one's conscience won't be very clear and articulate for us to understand. Therefore, the presence of the spiritual master in one's life is essential, is absolutely essential. And one must not accept a spiritual master, as Prabhupada says in different places, for ecclesiastical considerations. Means one is an institution, one knows that, yes, the process is that to sort of advance or make it ahead in the institution, one has to do this, take initiation, change one's name, and go up the different rungs of the institutional ladder. No. One has to come to this understanding. What is the purpose of accepting a spiritual master? And part of accepting a spiritual master is to live a life of purification, live a life of purity. And here Srila Prabhupada says, one must abandon all kinds of sinful activities, and he categorizes them in 4. Namely, illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating. And these are the same vows that we take at the time of initiation. Right? We take that. These initiation vows are very, very powerful. Embedded in the vow, the whole act of taking the vow, is the potency to stir up within us a resolve to want to lead a pure lifestyle. In our ISKCON movement, we have 2 types of initiation, right? We have first initiation, or sometimes loosely referred to as Harinam initiation. And we have second initiation, or initiation into the Gayatri mantra. So this Harinam initiation literally means one is being initiated into the chanting of the holy names, specifically the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But the irony is that we've already received this mantra. What does it mean that we are being initiated into the chanting? Before initiation, devotees have been chanting the mantra for at least 6 months, a year, or many years without being initiated. So what is one really being initiated into if you've already gotten the holy name? Second initiation, we know. People receive a confidential mantra for the very first time in their right ear, in a private way from the spiritual master. But first initiation, we've already gotten the mantra. So what are we getting? What are we getting? We are being initiated. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in one initiation lecture, he says, The essence of this initiation is initiation into submission and surrender. The holy name you've already gotten, but now you are being given, you are given the shelter, a platform of surrender and submission to a spiritual master. That is what we are being initiated into. And what does the surrender, what does the submission really play out to be? It means committing ourselves to a life of purification, to a life of abstaining from sinful activity. This is what first initiation means. If one is not committing to that, one may parrot-like repeat the 4 vows and chanting 16 rounds and your name is so-and-so, Das or Dasi. But afterwards does not commit to maintaining that submission and surrender, that shelter, through following the principles, then one is no longer initiated. One has left the shelter. One has left the shelter. And the whole purpose behind this initiation then, leading a life of purity, is to take one, to elevate one from ignorance and passion and situate one firmly on the level of the mode of goodness. Because as Prabhupada says at the end of the purport, that without becoming free from the influence of passion and ignorance, he cannot be pacified. And without being pacified, which means to be on the mode of goodness, one cannot understand the science of God. You cannot be Krishna conscious without being situated on the level of the mode of goodness. So the whole principle of initiation, taking shelter, Puranjan is taking a bath, is to cleanse oneself from all the sinful tendencies. And that's by regularly or regulating our lives in such a way that we don't fall into sinful activity again. So Narada Muni, who's the spiritual master of Prachina Barishat, he's identifying this tendency of Prachina Barishat, that Prachina Barishat is very much attracted to sense gratification, albeit in a way that is very religious. Very religious form of sense gratification. And that's there, described in the Vedic literature, the Karma Kandya section of the Vedas. If you want to gratify your senses, okay, we accept that. You know, nowadays there's a lot, come as you are, right? There's a thing, come. If you really had to come as you are the pure spirit soul. But it's okay, come as you are, we accept that. Whatever level you are at, come into Krishna consciousness. That's there. That's fine. But it doesn't mean we stay there. Right? We must be honest about where we are at. And from that level, practice devotional service. And then raise ourselves. So, Prachina Barisat, very much attached to sense gratification, and he's going about it in a very religious way. Regulated sense gratification. But Narada Muni wants him to accelerate and says, no. Enough with all this karma kandya following. Enough with all this dharma, artha, kama and moksha attachment. Get out of it now. Retire. Retire immediately. As Maharaj was saying yesterday, also expanding on the meaning of the word abandon, right? When you abandon something, you really turn away from it and you run. Abandon all varieties of religion. Parityagya. Parityagya. Run away from it. So the devotees also, Prachina Barishat, through this analogy of Puranjan, is being guided by Narada Muni. Abandon it. Walk away from it. There is no use. All this dharma, artha, kama and moksha, yes, this gradual thing, it's there, it's true, it's fine, it's mentioned in the Vedas, but really, it's not the real thing. It's not the real thing. Take shelter from a spiritual master, abandon all forms of sinful activity and engage in devotional service. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes special note of the word Uchita Hara. Anybody remember what Uchita Hara means? Ahara means to eat, appropriate eating. Appropriate eating. He uses the word appropriate eating. I'll just read that part again. The word Uchita Hara used in this verse is important. Uchita means appropriate. one must eat appropriately and not take after food as hogs take after stool. So the diet for hogs is, what's the most relishable diet for the hogs? Oh, just pre-breakfast discussion. This is not so nice, right? the diet that's most relished by hogs are stool. So nice, wonderful, licking their lips. So similarly, we have something that we like. We must also not lick our lips and think, wow, we are going to really make the most of this meal. Right? Really make the most of it. Make plans to get more of it so we can really relish. No. Eating, Prabhupada says, where does he say it? Prabhupada says, yes, in describing foods in the mode of goodness, he says in the purport, the purpose of food is to increase the duration of life, purify the mind, and aid bodily strength. It's not about licking the lips, and like, right, let's get into it now, No, that's not the point. It's really for duration of life, the increase of duration of life, purifying the mind, and to aid bodily strength. On the material level, we'll come to the deeper level as Prabhupada speaks in that section of the 17th chapter, Divisions of Faith. So this consciousness about Uchitahara, this is essential. It is vital for serious practitioners of devotional service. The eating of Satvikahara, Satvik, food in the mode of goodness. And food in the mode of goodness is determined by the types and tastes of food, including the period of time it is prepared to the time of eating, and even the result that the food has on the body and the mind. These are all determining what modes we are eating in. Yesterday I was researching this eating a little more, and I came across an excerpt of a talk Srila Prabhupada gave at Harvard University in 1969. A student is asking Prabhupada, how important is your diet? And Prabhupada gives an elaborate answer which, we could read again and again. Prabhupada says, that is a very important thing. If you read George Bernard Shaw, you know that you are what you eat. Actually, I never knew that it was George Bernard Shaw that said that. You are what you eat, until I read it from Prabhupada. So if you eat like a human being, then you can increase your qualities of human being. If you eat like cats and dogs, you increase the qualities of cats and dogs. That's all. So we must have discrimination what to eat. So this word discrimination is very significant in Prabhupada's answer. That is there in the human world. Eating is there, but everything is eatable. Even stool is eatable by a certain kind of animal. But that does not mean that stool has to be eaten by a human being. Human being must have discretion what kind of food will be just suitable for my health, for my intelligence, for my brain. So these things are prescribed. If we eat things that are in goodness, they are prescribed in the Vedic literature, that wheat, rice, sugar, milk products, vegetables, fruits, these things are in goodness. So you want to increase your quality of goodness, which is required for God realization. Unless you are situated in the quality of goodness, you cannot be promoted to the higher platform. So your eating should be arranged within this group: rice, wheat, sugar, milk products, vegetables and fruits. In your country, referring to America, you have got enough nice grains, nice fruits, enough supply of milk, butter. So there is no question of accepting any other food. You can accept foodstuff within this group and become healthy with good brain, good consciousness. You can engage yourself in God consciousness. That is possible. Therefore, Prabhupada quotes, discretion is the better part of valor. We should discriminate what kind of food we should eat. We cannot eat anything and everything. That discrimination must be there. So discrimination. And Srila Prabhupada guides us accordingly. He also says that a devotee must never underestimate the effect of eating. Never underestimate the effect of it. As George Bernard Shaw is quoted, you are what you eat. And Srila Rupa Goswami, who is our professor of the process of devotional service, he says that the process of devotional service begins with the tongue. And the tongue does two things. What does the tongue do? It vibrates sound and it eats and it tastes. So, vacho vegam, jiva vegam. These urges are there for the tongue. And we have to control it by speaking appropriately, speaking what is necessary, and in the context of today's presentation, eating what is appropriate. Uchitaha ahara. Once we do that with the tongue, then everything else is controlled. It's described that the tongue, belly and genitals all are in a line. So if you want to get the belly and the genitals in line or under control, it starts with the tongue. It starts with the tongue. So everything will be controlled simply by our eating. And therefore you find Krishna in chapter 17, he talks about the divisions of faith. Arjuna basically starts off the chapter by asking Krishna that if someone doesn't have faith in you, meaning in this case the scriptures, the directions of the scriptures and Krishna you, then does he have faith in other things? What is the nature of his faith? And Krishna says, yes, his faith is then influenced by the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And immediately Krishna goes into the topic of what to eat. What foods are influenced by the mode of ignorance? What foods are influenced by the mode of passion? And what foods are influenced by the mode of goodness? So if one doesn't have faith in Krishna and the processes that Krishna is giving, then one will be baffled. Just like Krishna says in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says that if one doesn't have faith in him, avajananti ma mura, it's a real issue. What will be the consequence? In the next verse he says, moga sha, his asha, his hopes and desires will be baffled. Moga karmana, his activities for fruitive results will be baffled. He'll be confused. And moga jnana vichetasa, his cultivation of knowledge will all be confused. This is the result if one is not developing faith. And faith cannot be cultivated on the modes of passion and ignorance. In the modes of passion and ignorance, one is having faith only in one's personal experience of gratification. But only on the level of goodness can one really develop faith in Krishna. Otherwise, if we are subdued, controlled by the modes of passion and ignorance, we will always be baffled. So just by accepting Krishna Prasadam, not just food, foods in the mode of goodness are wonderful, it's from that platform. But even then, by the wonderful arrangement of Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada, we are very much saved and protected. That even though we know, if we look at ourselves carefully, we are very much influenced from time to time by passion and ignorance. It comes up. But our saving grace is Krishna Prasadam. Right? Is Krishna Prasadam. That's our saving grace. That even though we are not on the level of the mode of goodness, to develop faith in the normal scheme of things according to the Vedic system, simply by accepting Krishna Prasadam, we can be elevated. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na sochati na kangshati. Simply by accepting Prasadam, which is a very significant form of devotional service, we are elevated automatically to Brahma Bhuta, the stage of Brahman, transcendental level. But then we must be careful not to come down again. So what's the solution not to come down? Is to just keep on eating. Never stop eating Krishna Prasad. No, then all other processes come into play. All other processes that Prabhupada has given us. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regularly attending classes, by attending the program, attending a regulated itinerary of events that keep us in the mode of goodness. Because how many of us can really just eat and eat and eat and eat? I mean, I know some of us, when we first came to Krishna consciousness, that's all we loved to do, we could do it. But some years down the line, no thank you, enough's enough, Can I just have a little salad, a little juice or something? It happens from time to time, right? So we need everything else. We need the program, we need the association of devotees, we need Krishna Katha. And when that happens, all under the shelter of the bona fide spiritual master, serving the spiritual master, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, then one becomes purified, and everything that's dirty in the heart, abhadras, all these unclean things in the heart becomes almost destroyed to null. Almost. So let us be mindful of this. Let us not become bewildered by staying on the platform of passion and ignorance. When one acts on the level of passion and ignorance, all sorts of conflicts and confusion arises. You ever notice that? If you sit outside yourself and you look at your own activities after you've done it, you step back and you realize, gosh, if only I was in a better frame of mind when I said that or did that. You ever had any regrets in your life about what you said and done, or not said and not done? It's good to do that, Do a revision of the day, a revision of the week, revision of the month, whatever. And see that if I only was just situated on the mode of goodness when I responded to this or responded to that, things would have turned out so much differently. But the only way to be on the mode of goodness is to constantly uchita, act appropriately in our eating, in our speaking, in our hearing, in our engagements, in our attendance. That's the only way to be constantly on the mode of goodness. All right, we'll stop here. Are there any questions or comments anyone has? All right. Thank you all very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.